The Salt Path is a literary phenomenon. Its author says it's an honest and true story.
It became more than just a walk for us. It became something that saved us.
It's sold over 2 million copies and it's been turned into a major film.
Are you walking the path?
Yes, we are.
But I've discovered that key aspects of this true story aren't actually true, and the real story is much darker.
She's made a lot of money out of ruining my family's life. I think we need the truth.
I'm Chloe Hadjimatheou, an investigative reporter for The Observer, and over the last few months, I've been taking a look into the real story behind the Salt Path. The book describes how its author, Raynor Winn, and her husband Moth were betrayed by a childhood friend who claimed they owed him money. The judge ignored their evidence and evicted them from their home.
A real injustice had taken place in my mind.
Then followed even more heartbreak.
We lost our house, we lost our livelihood, and a few days later, my husband of 32 years received a terminal diagnosis, and then we lost our future.
With nothing left and nowhere to go, they walked 600 miles along the southwest coast path of England, a journey that changed their lives.
And just in that moment, it seemed like the most obvious thing to do, to just fill a rucksack and go for a walk. And so that's what we did.
That's their story. A story that's now been turned into 3 prize-winning books that have sold over 2 million copies. You might have seen the posters for the major film adaptation released in May, starring Gillian Anderson and Jason Isaacs. All along, this was sold as an honest and life-affirming true story. But as I've discovered, key elements of the story aren't true. This is Ros Hemmings. She knew Raynor and Moth Winn 2 decades ago in a small town in North Wales where they lived. But she knew them by their real names, Sally and Tim Walker.
She'd been made redundant where she worked at a hotel in Abersoch, and it was at the same time as my husband's bookkeeper had retired.
Sally Walker began working for Ros's husband Martin, who's since passed away. She was looking after the accounts for his small family-run business.
My husband was a workaholic. He never stopped working, and he started to think that, why aren't I making any money?
The answer to that question is the real start of the Salt Path story. It leads to the Walkers losing this home in Wales. Ros and her husband Martin suspected that Sally Walker had embezzled around £9,000 from Martin's business. Confronted, Sally paid them the full sum.
Sally appeared at my house holding a cheque, and she said it was for several thousands, and she said, "This is all the money we have, and I've had to sell some of my mother's things to raise this money."
Ros and Martin had suspicions that more was missing, tens of thousands.
He had to bring home all the books for all the years that Sally had worked for us. It was the most soul-destroying thing I've ever done. She had been creating invoices. She had been signing cheques.
Eventually, they assessed that over £60,000 had been stolen from Martin's business. They believed the woman who would go on to be known worldwide as Raynor Winn had taken it. She was arrested, questioned, and told to report to the police the next day. But then she vanished.
The one thing that's come out of all this is that it destroyed his faith in humanity. You know, he trusted everybody who worked for him, and she broke the trust.
Ros recalls being contacted by Sally's lawyer, who told them that she would repay all the missing money, but only if Martin dropped the case. They agreed. Now I've uncovered legal documents showing that the Walkers had borrowed money from a relative of Tim's to pay back what Sally was accused of stealing. Then, when that relative's business collapsed, creditors wanted their money back. Sally and Tim didn't pay, and it was then that the Walkers' house was claimed to recover the debt. A very different story to the one told in the Salt Path.
We'd had a financial dispute with a lifetime friend that ended in a
You got conned out of everything. You can't say it, but I can. You got conned out of everything, yeah.
She had really embezzled the money off my husband. And it just made me feel sick. But I thought, well, if she's written a book and wants to write this crap, fine. I'm not going to read the book.
Ros is one of the people left behind on the Walkers' journey to fame and fortune.
If you live with something like this and it gets you down, it's ruining your life. She's made a lot of money out of ruining my family's life at the beginning. Good on her, and I hope it brings her endless joy.
She says she's talking now because there may be others like her.
I think we need the truth. Other people could well have been hurt by all of this.
I've discovered more possible flaws in the story that Sally and Tim Walker have told the world. There's the terminal brain disease that Tim describes having, the real core of the emotional struggle in the salt path. 9 neurologists and researchers I've spoken to were surprised and sceptical about his lack of symptoms and his apparent ability to reverse them. Then there's the house in France the couple own, bought before they lost their home in Wales. It's run down now, but locals tell me the Walkers did visit to stay on the land before they claimed to be homeless with nowhere to go. Read the full story online and in The Observer. We contacted Raynor Winn, who sent a short statement via her lawyers. The salt path lays bare the physical and spiritual journey Moth and I shared, an experience that transformed us completely and altered the course of our lives. This is the true story of our journey.